I had a phone call from first Jack Gordon, who was LaToya's husband, and then he put LaToya on the phone.
Former Deputy District Attorney Lauren Weiss.
I talked to him for about 5 minutes, and he wanted us to commit to not subpoenaing her, that she would talk if she wasn't going to be subpoenaed or taped. And I said, I can't promise that. I didn't tape the conversation. I just took notes. But I have the date of September 2nd, 12:20 in the afternoon. And so LaToya got on the phone, and basically what she said was that her mother, Catherine, knew quite a bit about what was going on. And I have a quote here that Catherine Jackson had said, "That boy is a fag, a damn fag." And LaToya told me that he had always young boys over the house, and this started at Havenhurst. And the boys that she saw with him were between 5 and 13. She said there were a lot of Jehovah Witness kids that, he would spend time with.
LaToya Jackson went on to tell Weiss that Michael would stay alone in his bedroom with children at Havenhurst for days on end, that food trays would be left outside the door by housekeepers.
She said that there were many checks written, that the mother saw the checks and showed checks to LaToya. And then she said she didn't know the year, but there was a boy whose father was a garbage man. And then I have the name Jimmy Safechuck.
As viewers of the 2019 HBO documentary Leaving Neverland will recall, Jimmy, or James Safechuck, accused Jackson of molesting him over a period of several years in his childhood, while simultaneously lavishing him with jewelry and taking him around the world. Jackson also, according to the documentary, gave money to Safechuck's parents. Safechuck spoke with authorities during the Jordy Chandler investigation, but told them Jackson had never molested him in any way.
And that he was not the first that got money like that. And she also, then she brought up another British kid with blonde hair and a turned-up nose by the name of Jonathan.
From 1984 to 1987, Michael Jackson was often accompanied by Jonathan Spence, a 10-year-old blonde boy who had went to school with Tito Jackson's sons. According to Diane Diamond's book, Jonathan's father was a screenwriter of some note who left the boy in the care of the Jackson family at Havenhurst so he could work in Europe. Jonathan began spending time with the younger Jackson nephews and took a shine to Michael. According to Diane Diamond's account in her book, throughout the fall of 1984, Jackson and Spence were often seen hugging and nuzzling.
Everybody on the set of there was a video they were making, knew Jonathan.
But Weiss said prosecutors weren't able to speak with Jonathan Spence or with some of the other boys who had been seen with Jackson over the years. We should emphasize that Spence insisted in interviews over the years that Jackson never acted improperly with him.
Inside you and in your heart, do you believe your brother could be capable of doing these things that they're saying that he did?
That's not for me to answer. We have to wait and see what happens.
Katie Kirk asked me a question. She says, were there boys around at the house? And I said, well, that's quite normal for kids to come over and stay the night or whatever, or be in the room. That's what I told her.
But what Howard said is 100%
what they did was
right.
they sliced it up and they said many boys and the whole bit and thousands, and they went on and exaggerated.
Yeah, but even still, even if it's one boy, I don't think that's normal.
But
I agree with you.
But you have to remember, you're talking about 6-7 years ago.
Yeah, but Jack agrees. You're talking about a 36-year-old man sleeping with 5-year-old children. Yeah, that's not right.
What you guys are doing is that, first of all,
I don't think that's right.
You're convicting him before it's time.
Well, I do that with everyone. No, I'm not convicting him. He might be innocent. I'm saying he's innocent, but I'm saying it looks awfully bad. No, but I'm saying you wouldn't want to hide something if you thought you want him to get help. You wouldn't want him to be with other boys.
I would want him to get help if, in fact, this was the case.
I'm not saying it's true.
Know that.
You just asked me what I thought. You asked me what I thought. I'd say it looks very bad. I would, if I was.
But see, you told me that before when I was here.
What?
Remember you
I told you I didn't think it was right.
You said, would you let your kid sleep with Michael? Remember you said that?
Right.
You
did.
And I remembered that.
Oh, yeah? And what did you answer? That's prior to.
And you said, you told me that you would definitely not let your kid sleep with Michael.
Of course not. I would never let my child sleep with a 35-year-old man.
And what parent in the right man
Of course not. I would never do that.
You told me that a year ago, and I'll never forget you telling me that.
Were you happy that I said that?
Howard, I didn't say I was happy. You said,
you
let me add one thing.
It.
I mean, why I'd have to be insane?
But there are many people who apparently do.
Latoya always said there's a lot more to tell that I didn't tell in my book.
Yeah,
it's
I
true.
always did say that.
So you're saying that you know some stuff here, but you're just not
unbelievable.
You don't want to be.
I just said that I didn't write the book to hurt the family.
I think you should come forward.
I wrote the book to bring out awareness of child abuse.
Wait, you're making a book deal? No, I'm saying you should come forward on this. You know why? Because no one should ever protect anyone if they are doing something.
These are all allegations.
Yes, they are. Of course.
You guys cannot say that he's done this.
I'm not saying that.
So, in other words, what you're saying is you don't know that he's done this.
I'm saying you guys can't say it, and I'm saying that I was not there with this little George.
But you were in Havenhurst for 30 years with him.
You guys, let's change the subject. I'm not even here to talk about Mike. Just because of you, Howard, I'm going to hear so much flack about this.
No way. You haven't said anything.
You don't have to say anything. The public takes it the wrong way.
The public. The hell with them. Do you think I listen to the public? They're a bunch of retards.
Howard's right.
I'm right.
Absolutely right.
I am right?
Don't they take everything and twist it?
Of course.
Whatever they want to say, they say it. They make you look bad for no reason whatsoever.
Absolutely.
Remember, that's my brother-in-law we're talking about.
And you stand up for the truth, and they say that you're not telling the truth.
You told the truth. You went on. If you said, hey, I did see some boys over at the house, why can't you say that?
Why can't I say that?
You said it. You said the right thing.
My mother gets her behind the television and say that it was not true.
You didn't say what? Of course it was true.
I know everybody saw it. Security saw it. Everybody else saw it.
He's still doing it today, so why wouldn't it be true?
But I didn't say that I saw him.
Because people twist it.
I just said there were kids at the house.
You need consoling. Come over here. Do you want to be consoled?
Thank you, Howard, for helping me on that, though, because that's so wrong.
What did your mother say about Michael Jackson? Tell me.
Oh, don't start that.
You can just say what your mother said about your brother.
Then you're going to hear it everywhere, and it's going to be...
All right, let me just hear, what is it? What did she say?
That he was a homosexual, an absolute homosexual.
Your mother said that?
Your mother said that?
And why was he always having the little boys in the rooms with him?
Okay, I'm just going to tell you guys the truth. Since Jay has said this, I'm going to be honest because I am sick of my family. I love my family in a way, but then again, that's why I remove myself from that situation, because there are a lot of things that my family believe in that I do not believe in, and I stand firmly against a lot of things they believe in.
Child abuse.
Sorry?
Child abuse?
Which is child abuse. I'm totally against it, and that's why I wrote the book. However, my mother would hurt me a lot of times because at the time I really didn't want to believe it. And she would say things to me all the time, and she would say, Michael is a so-and-so fag.
Right. Which is okay.
And I would never tell him that.
But she doesn't even know that that's true.
And I didn't even want
She just would say it.
Well, she would hate the fact that there were always little boys over, and she would say that so-and-so fag, and she would say it with such anger and hatred. But the problem is, now she gets on television so sweet and innocent and go, oh, I love my son, and I would never say anything like that. And the public sees it and say, how can Latoya go up there and lie? Latoya's not lying. Latoya's just, I'm not exposing him.
Right.
I just don't like the fact that my mother would say those things, and then she turn around and calls me a liar.
What did your father say?
My father stays out of everything.
Well, the whole thing's a mess.
Yeah.
I thought my parents were trouble.
And I support him.
You do?
How can you support him?
In other words, I'm standing by him. We don't know what happened. You guys, nobody was in that room, so you cannot say that he did this.
That's true. I'm not saying he's guilty. I said it's the appearance of guilt. It's not that he's guilty.
But why do you build merry-go-rounds and Ferris wheels? To ride them every day? You're going to go for a ride in your own Ferris wheel every day?
But for me personally, no.
Say that he still has the mind of a 12-year-old. He sort of acts.
But does he have the mind of a 12-year-old? He's a total genius who sold 58 million records. Does he have the mind of a 12-year-old? No.
I don't know. I've never met him.
I don't know.
A lot of people say it's because he didn't have a childhood when he was a little
kid. Yeah, but I mean, grow up. Who had a childhood?
But you know, you have to...
I didn't have a childhood.
Well, you guys, wait, the point that
if you saw my childhood, you wouldn't want a childhood.
Yeah, you throw it right away.
But the point I'm trying to make is people say that he didn't have a childhood, but neither did Marlon. Marlon was the same age as Michael.
That's right.
You made the rest of them, they were the same age. They didn't have a childhood.
They don't have merry-go-rounds in their backyard.
No, they don't.
Just ask you two questions about your brother. First of all, have you heard from your brother, and how is he doing?
Well, I certainly hope he's doing fine. And no, I have not spoken to him since he's been in this situation. I've reached out for him. I've tried to reach for him, but I haven't been successful with that at all.
What do you think about these allegations?
I'd rather not discuss that because I'm here for this and I'm not here for that. But again, they're just allegations. And I love him and I stand by him.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Good luck with the video.
In terms of Pepsi Cola just having dropped your brother Michael, and that he has admitted that he has a problem with painkillers and is seeking professional help. What is your comment on that?
I have no comment.
You're not concerned about him at all?
I didn't say I wasn't concerned. I did not say that. I said I have no comment on that. Because we really don't know if he's on painkillers, do we?
Isn't that what he said?
But we read these from the tabloids.
When last did you see him?
Before this incident happened. So it's been a while before all of this happened.
Your brother Michael is feeling. Do you know how he's feeling about all these accusations that have been leveled against him?
No, I really can't speak for him, but I'm sure that he's not very happy. I'm sure there's a lot of stress there. I'm sure there's a lot of pain. There's nothing but allegations. Michael has not really been convicted just yet.
He hasn't been convicted.
And it's not right for us to speak upon this matter. I don't have the liberty to speak about this matter at this moment. It's very, very wrong.
I invite you to say he's innocent.
I want the best for Michael. You know what you're asking me? You're asking me something that I choose not to answer.
Okay.
And I have my reasons for it.
Okay.
And you guys should not say a word. The people that I hear sighing, you know why? You have not lived in the same house with me. You do not know what goes on in my house. You have not been there. If you were there and you know what goes on, then let me hear you say something. I think I'm being very, very kind. You don't know Michael from the man in the moon.
Okay,
How
one
can
more
you shake
time.
your head?
You're talking to me?
I'm talking to you. Yes, I am.
I don't know, Michael. You sit here, look at you. You've got no respect for no one. You can't even respect your own family. Toya then said, well, I don't know, but I don't think he did it. But who can say? Well, why bother saying anything? Why? Because you're just contradicting yourself and you're giving a bit of leeway so people can think, well, this is his sister, and obviously it doesn't look like she thinks he's innocent at all. Then you should just say no comment, and that's it.
I have said that lots of times. I've said no comments lots of times. However, you have not lived in the same house.
I've got 2 children, and Michael could take my children away now for a year. And I would not worry at all. Because he's so gentle. It's just not there. It's not there.
You're right.
And everything you've said about Michael is true. I wrote it down.
Right. He's
you
very
said he's
gentle.
lovely.
He is. He's
Latoya,
very sweet.
if you had 2 sons...
Everything he does, he can't even wave without doing it gentle.
Well, let me ask you a question, Pauline.
Yeah.
No,
Pauline's right.
No,
She's
don't
right. Do it with my
Jack,
children.
please,
my
don't take
children
my
have even said out
Please.
of their own mouths that they would love to sleep and cuddle with Michael. And I have not pushed them into it. They've even said that not 1 minute have they thought they're true.
Pauline,
Not
you're
1
right.
minute.
He's a very sweet and kind person.
Jack, what were you going to say?
Don't ever think differently.
What were you going to say to her?
And everything
I was
you've
going to
said
ask you,
about
what if Michael
I've said
abused her
nice
children?
things about him.
How would she feel
Hate
by
them.
letting her children go with Michael then?
Said that-
If you had 2 children now, would you send them to Michael for a weekend?
Yes, I would.
I was
Would
going to
you?
ask
No.
you that.
I
you
would.
said yes.
Yes, I would.
Thank you. I was going to
Would
ask
I?
you that
No.
question.
I would. Sure.
You would?
He's my brother. Of course I would.
Jack, will you?
Absolutely not.
Why?
I
Would
would.
not.
You just would not?
I would not consider it.
I
wouldn't
would.
even think about it.
Michael didn't have a childhood, and he loves children dearly. He really does. However,
But the
Michael's
difference
not the
between
only
you and
Jackson.
him
He's
is-
the only Jackson that didn't have a childhood. My other brothers didn't have one either.
Well, they should spend
And they're
some
all
time
the
with
same
children,
word
shouldn't
too. And they don't act the same way.
Oh.
So they should say none of them had a childhood. Not just him. None of them. That's all. That's all I'm trying to say. That's all.
You accept. Do you accept
You have to
that
remember, my manager can vouch for this. I defend Michael. I stand up for him so much. You guys have no idea. I'm always defending him, and he's always calling, saying, thank you for saying
But you're
this,
not
and thank you for
defending him
saying
now,
that."
are you?
Oh, yes, I am. You have no idea. If he was here, believe it or not, or if he was listening in, he would be very proud, because he know what I can say, and I have not spoken out. Well, I must tell you that this is very difficult for me, that Michael is my brother. I love him a great deal, but I cannot and I will not be a silent collaborator of his crimes against small, innocent children. And if I remain silent, then that means that I feel the guilt and the humiliation that these children are feeling, and I think it's very wrong. I have seen checks payable to the parent of these children. And I don't know if these children were apparently bought the parents by Michael or not. But I have seen these checks, and I've seen these checks through my mother. She's shown me these checks that Michael have written to these children, and it's for a great amount. And I'm not speaking pennies. The sums are a very, very large amount. And this is my first time talking about it, and I never want to speak about it. I never want to say anything about it. But I think it's sad because I am a victim myself, and I know what it feels like. And these kids are going to be scarred for the rest of their life, and I don't want to see any more innocent small children being affected this way. I love Michael very dearly, but I feel even more sorry for these children because they don't have a life anymore. They don't. Now you stop and you think for 1 second and you tell me what 35-year-old man is going to take a little boy and stay with him for 30 days and take another boy and stay with him for 5 days in a room and never leave the days in a room and never leave the room. How many would take little kids and do that that are 9, 10, 11 years old? I love my brother, but it's wrong. I don't want to see these kids hurt. I've been hurt by it too. My father molested me sexually, and I don't like it. I don't like the way it feels. And to this day, this is my husband, and he can vouch for this. I will not have a relationship with him because of that. But I love him dearly, but I cannot. Perhaps one day I will come to terms with it, and I will be able to. But for now, I can't do it. And that's what I don't want to see happen to these little kids, because I know what it feels like in the heart. And it's a very sad situation. It really is. You have no idea what it feels like.
This has been going on since 19...
Michael lived at home with myself and my mother and my father, and of course my other brothers are all older, so we were at home 15 years longer than the rest of the members in the family. And there were always little boys at the house, and they were not just a group of them, but it was always one at a time. Yes, and they would spend nights and they would sleep in his room. Yes, but however, I must tell you, I was not in the same bed with them, so I don't know what went on in the bed.
There's been 2 major kidnap attempts on LaToya that were stopped, that were paid and financed by Michael Jackson.
Of course, quite different than sexually abusing them. What kind of evidence do you have that your brother did in fact sexually abuse these young boys?
I want you to know that there aren't really any evidence. The only thing that I know of, and my mother has actually shown me these things, she's the one that was outraged and brought them to me, that were checks that were written to the little boy's parents. And there are 2 checks that I know of that she has shown me, and it's for a substantial amount of money. And she was outraged over it.
How much money, and are you certain you know what these checks were for? Let's say that Michael...
I don't know what they were for, but I know they were written to the parents of the little boys that would sleep over.
You're just assuming then that it's hush money. Did your mother ever tell you that this money was being given to the alleged the parents of the alleged victims to keep them quiet?
That's why I can't say that it's hush money. Apparently, it was given for some reason. I don't know why, but I do know that she was outraged during that particular time. This is around 84, mind you, and she would say things like, I can't stand this. He's nothing but a fag. I can't stand this. And I would say, Mother, don't say that. Just because you see a check doesn't mean that. It doesn't mean anything.
But basically...
And that's the way she took it. Now, to this day, she denies it because she has no support. In other words, if she were to go and tell the truth, Michael would drop everything and she would probably be out on the street. So she has to stand by in that way. But the only reason I'm speaking up is because I'm an abused victim, and I don't want to see anyone else hurt like that because I know what it feels like to be hurt.
But basically, I'm sorry, LaToya, I was going to say basically because of these checks shown to you by your mother and the fact that Michael, do you know for sure that he spent 30 nights with this alleged victim?
I have never, ever, Katie, seen Michael in the bed with another boy. Never. I have never seen him. I do know that he would have boys over all the time. One, of course, and they would stay in the room for days. Then they would come out, and then there would be another boy, and he would bring someone else, but never 2 at a time or anything like that.
But basically, LaToya, you're drawing your own conclusion that Michael abused young men, young boys.
No, I'm not drawing my own conclusion that he abused young boys. That's totally wrong. I am not drawing my own conclusion. Let me ask you a question. What 35-year-old man do you know that sleeps with little boys and stays with them for a week or 2 weeks or whatever, and sleep in the same bed?
Well, you know what? In this situation, LaToya, if it's okay with you, I'd rather conduct the interview than answer your questions. I hope that's okay.
But I'm asking you this question because this is a valid question. It's very open. Because most people would say, well, this is totally wrong. It's totally unfair.
Yeah, most people might...
And, you know, what you have to remember is that Jordy, I do not know this kid. I have never met this kid. I know nothing about him. But at the same time, I feel bad for him, and no one's caring about Jordy. Jordy is in a very bad position. Even if it's not Michael, his parents have put him in a bad position. And there are a lot of Jordys out there.
Have you talked, LaToya, with your parents since making the statements last night in Tel Aviv?
I haven't spoken to my parents, no.
They did talk to the press. I just want to run a soundbite for you to tell you how they reacted to what you had to say. So just listen for a moment if you could.
I wouldn't dare let anything like that go on in my home. And she knows this.
It's ridiculous, all the accusations she's making about her brother, because she's not telling the truth.
What's your reaction to what your folks had to say, LaToya?
My mother is very much aware of all the children that were there, all the boys that stayed there. And she is the one who always said that Michael, excuse my expression, but he's a faggot. And she would say, that damn faggot, I can't stand him. And that's what she would say all the time, and she knows it. And now she's denying it, and that's what hurts. But what hurts more than anything else is that if she knew that, then why didn't she say something about it or do something about it or get help because she felt that he was bothering little kids? I didn't understand the fact that he was bothering little kids. I didn't understand why the checks were written. She was the one who was trying to explain these things to me.
You claim
but
that
now she's denying it and covering it up.
You claim that the reason your mom is siding with Michael is because your parents and the rest of your family are afraid that they'll be cut off financially from him.
He supports every last one of them. Jermaine lives in that house. His children lives in that house. Everybody lives there. He supports them.
You know, your mother also...
And I must tell you this, too, Katie. By the way, Michael and I lived at home from anywhere from 10 to 15 years alone without the other brothers because they married very early. They do not know the same Michael that I know. They don't know him whatsoever. And they never did. And when they would come over to the house, Michael would say, have them make an appointment. And I was the in-between guy, like a go-between. I would have to make excuses and say, well, he's busy, he's in his room. He'd run up to his room and say, I don't want to see them, I don't want to be bothered with them. And these are his own brothers. And I would have to make up excuses, and I go, Michael, but they're your brothers. I don't care, I'm busy.
Your mom also said that she thought your husband was a con man and a thug and accused him of beating and brainwashing you, and basically your folks say you're just out for publicity.
That's totally untrue. First of all, I don't need it. They also said I was doing it for the money. When you do a press conference, do you do that for the money? I think it's time to speak up and save innocent children.
Have you spoken?
No one has spoke up.
Go ahead, LaToya, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No one has really spoken out properly. No one has said anything about these children. And I think it's totally unfair. You have to ask yourself a lot of questions. There are a lot of questions to be answered and asked at the same time.
How many young children do you believe Michael?
Sorry?
How many young children do you believe Michael victimized?
I can't really answer that.
And have you had an opportunity to speak with your brother yet?
No, I have not. And I have tried, but I have not. I put phone calls in, but nothing has been returned. Absolutely nothing.
Do you think he'll be coming back to the United States, LaToya?
The problem is my parents, especially my mother, more than so my father. My father has no idea. My mother knows that I know a lot, and she's afraid of what I might say, as well as Michael, because they know that I know too much. And now I think it's time to put an end to all of this.
Do you think Michael will come back to the United States?
I have no idea.
All right. LaToya Jackson, thanks very much for talking with us. Perhaps you can come on and talk with us another time. Thank you, LaToya.
Sure.
We'll be back in a moment.
And my family's going to get upset with me, but listen, the truth is the truth. Come on, let's be realistic.
You've always been very honest.
These checks were written for $1 million.
$1 million?
Now, let me get this straight. Why would your mother...
And I would say...
But why would your mother show you the checks for the $1 million? I'm just curious.
She was outraged.
Right.
When she went ballistic when she saw that. She says, I said, so what? That's somebody that he likes. He wrote a check for. She goes, look at it good. You know who this is? She goes, this is Jimmy's safe check. This is a little boy that comes over here that stays with him and stays in that room, and he locks himself up in the room with him, and he sleeps in the same bed with him. I said, sleeps in the same bed with him? And she goes, yes, what do you think they do up there, LaToya?
Well,
and she knows all this, and she knows it's true, and she gets on television and she lies. I'm not doing this for money, Larry. I'm sorry, Howard, you're not paying me. These kids, you know, they're infatuated. He shows them the world, and he puts them on big planes and flies them around and sends planes for them. And my point is, yes, that's all good and wonderful, and the parents and mothers are loving it. However, what happens later on in life?
So you've been living...
Too old, and he tosses them to the side after 13 or whatever and says, you're too old for me.
So you've been living...
To another one.
So you've been living with this secret for a long time, and it's been eating away at you, right? And now that it's come up in the news, you've been waiting and waiting and waiting. Finally, you said, I can't take this anymore?
Well, it's not that I knew for sure because I have never seen him in the act, so
Right.
I cannot say. And like I said, I don't want to be a silent collaborator. That's why I'm speaking out.
Right.
But you know something is going on, but you don't know exactly what. Because it's too strange, it's too weird, and...
So all you're saying is...
this is escalated?
So approximately how many of these checks do you think were written?
Well, I've only seen two. My mother showed me two.
Right.
When she showed me both of them the same day.
And Robin says... Do you think this is escalating now?
It's like, he spends, it used to be a few days at a time. He spent 30 consecutive nights, supposedly, with this one 13-year-old boy.
At Jordy. No, Jordy, I don't know at all.
Do you think that...
Going on?
Do you think you'll be called up as some kind of witness in any of this?
Well, they've been trying to subpoena me for a while now.
Right. Well, so you'll have to come and testify, right?
I really don't care to speak about that. I wouldn't really want to testify.
Right.
I really wouldn't.
Well, let me ask you something. What do you think Michael is going to do? There was word today that he's probably going to return to the country.
I'm going to ask you guys something, and I don't care what all these entertainers say because he's Michael Jackson. If he was a regular person, they would say immediately, this is wrong, lock this person up.
Right.
They would say that right away, and it's very, very wrong. I'm speaking out because I know what it feels like I've gone through, and I'm not going to stand by and be an accomplice and let it happen again.
Latoya, let me tell you something.
At the same time, why is he running? What is he running from? If you're innocent, why do you run?
That's right. Well, let me say something. Let me tell you something, Latoya. You absolutely have an obligation to say whatever you know, because if there is child abuse, you're doing the right thing. And I'm going to tell you something. If a brother of mine was a child abuser, the second I had a thought that he was abusing children, I would confront him. I would confront him. I would say, "Are you abusing children?" He'd probably say no. I'd say, "I suspect that you are, and I have to report you," because I'm going to tell you something. That's the worst offense in the world. So if you have a feeling that something was going on that was wrong, or you were a witness to something that was that wrong, even though it's your brother and it kills you to do it, I think I can't certainly disagree with your decision to come forward.
And
this is not a new
story. I really
story.
respect what you're saying. You're a very bright man, and you must understand this was a hard decision for me to make.
Of course it is.
It was tearing me to pieces inside, and then for the public to do this to me, to denounce me for saying something that's
well, I'm not denouncing you. I'm not denouncing you.
No, you're not.
That's
you're
right.
Not at all. But that's what makes you so smart, simply because you understand and you know how painful and how.
I say, let's get to the truth.
Stop.
Let's get to the truth
Of it.
Well, for
and
people who think that this is a Johnny-come-lately story that you've just made up, this is not true. She has been grappling with this for a long time.
Yep.
Because she had mentioned it to me before.
Yep, she had mentioned it to us. And
let me tell you something, Howard and Robin. I'm going to tell you something. Like Corey said, Michael's nice and he gives to charity and all these things. Yes, he gives to charity and he's nice and he does all these things. But let me tell you something. Whenever there's a serial killer, what do you hear all the neighbors saying and everybody who knows him?
He was so nice.
Oh, he was the nicest guy in the world. He was so sweet, so kind. He would never do a thing like that. We're so shocked.
Let me tell you something, Latoya. If you were here in the studio right now talking to me, I would be cuddling you and comforting you, as a matter of fact, and holding you while you said these things to make you feel better.
Thank you, because you know why? It hurts so badly, and I feel like I have to fight and scream to get my point across, and I shouldn't have to. This is not my predicament. Michael put himself in this predicament. I shouldn't have to do this. I should have just been able to make a statement.
You felt obligated to come forward, and I applaud you for that.
And no, I'm not doing it for money. I haven't received a penny for it, and I'm sick of my mother saying that, and the rest of the world is writing off what she's saying. And she's the one. She's afraid the money is going to stop. That's her problem.
Well, Latoya, I want to thank you for calling in. When are you coming back? When are you coming back from Israel?
And for all those people who believe that he did not do it, I'm just so sorry, because you know why? When it's your children and it's your child, you better think twice.
All right. Thanks, Latoya.
All right. Goodbye.
What's the matter? You all right?
No, I'm fine. It's just that when you tell me about these award shows, and it was...
It's upsetting. Well, it is.
Yeah, this is not an easy position to take.
No, it's not easy to do it.
It wasn't the easy thing to do.
I don't know why more people aren't interested in coming out to find out the truth. Of course we should find out.
They don't care about innocent children. They don't care about these kids that are being harmed and hurt and scarred for life. They only care about the fact that he's a star and we're not going to let this legend die.
So then you've done the right thing. Latoya, you've done the right thing.
I'm helping children.
You did the right thing.
I will always stand by
Then don't
and help
worry.
them.
Then don't even give it a second thought. You did the right thing, and you have to do what you think is right. Okay?
Thank you for giving me that support. I appreciate that, and I need
You're
it.
welcome. Thank you, Latoya. Bye-bye.
Take care.
When parents abuse their children, you see the results, you see what happens later on in life. The children go on to be abusers themselves. That's why it's very important that we must put a stop to this now, and that's the only reason why I'm speaking out. Michael is my brother, and I love him. However, at the same time, I think the public is getting the wrong understanding. They're looking at him as the entertainer, the superstar. We must put that aside and judge him as a man, just like anybody else. Any other man that's out there, and it would be wrong for any other man to sleep with a child and do these things. We had a very close relationship when we were at home. We did everything together. We shared everything.
Cuando estábamos juntos, estábamos siempre juntos. Hemos dividido muchas cosas juntos. And?
Oh, I'm waiting for the interpreter, I'm sorry. And we did everything together. However, at the same time, I was very disappointed in some of the things that I saw. But you can't really accuse a person of anything if you don't actually see them in the act themselves. But you're aware, you have suspicions of things that are going on, like little boys that were in the room, that stayed in the room for several days, and you walk in and the personality of that kid has changed dramatically. It's so strange when you see these kids later. They become so withdrawn and so shy. In the beginning, they're so playful and so up, and all of a sudden they change and they're very close to him and they're with him every day. No, the only, as far as girls, he's never had a girlfriend in his life.
Él dice que no ha tenido nunca una chica. Michael Jackson nunca ha tenido una mujer a su lado.
No, but he's always with little boys. Once you speak out, and it comes out openly, and then he will realize and recognize what I'm doing is wrong. I do need help. I do need to stop doing this. And maybe he will stop doing this. Because if I don't speak out, he will continue and other children will continue to be hurt. We must put a stop to these kids. Did you see the story about the preacher who molested all these little boys when they were young, and now they're grown men, they're 45 years old, and they're crying, their whole lives are ruined? Well, this is what's going to happen to all these children that this has happened to. And we have proof and evidence of kids that he's done this to. Why haven't I spoken to him about this earlier?
Yes.
Because when you speak to someone about this, I approached him about a situation similar to this, and his question was, I like little boys, not meaning in a lovable way, but just liking them. However, when you mention something like this, they're going to automatically deny it. And yes, I have mentioned this to him several times. There were never little girls. Think about this. When people love children, girls should have been around. There were never little girls. What people must... Right, I don't know if it's true or not. These are allegations again. However, what people must realize... The little boy is the one who's being destroyed either way. He's destroyed either way. Because his parents have destroyed him, the media has destroyed him, everyone has destroyed him. Michael has, everyone has destroyed him.
¿Tu hermano era sincero?
Well, I know the truth. I know the truth. And it's only natural to say that you're innocent, because if you say that you're not, you're convicted right away.
Es normal decir que estás.
But I think that what people like yes, go ahead. Because people like this that are screaming out, they don't understand. Little children are being hurt, and that's what we should worry about. Now stop and think. This is a 35-year-old man, and they must keep this in mind. 35-year-old men don't sleep with boys for several days and locked up in a room and never come out. Just because he's an icon or a superstar, don't get this mixed up. I know, I have been an abused victim, so I know what it feels like. I've gone through this. So for these, you've got to save the children, and that's why I'm here. No other reason. And I certainly hope it will come to an end very soon, too, for him, because I know he's under a lot of pain and a lot of stress. However, he needs help. And when it comes to an end, yes, and he needs help. And when it comes to an end, we will all know what the outcome will be. All the people who are out there, they will see what the final outcome will be. And I just want him to have help. My parents did it to me. So it carries on. When you give a press conference is totally free. I come to do the press conference to help all the kids and try to save them and bring out this and bring this point out. People get such a wrong impression I love him. I live with him. I know him. He's a wonderful person.
Dice, yo lo
However,
quiero mucho. No importa que traduzca la
I
señora.
live with him. I know him. But
Dice, yo lo quiero mucho. Vivo con él, estoy con él.
But they got to remember, we all have mistakes, and sometimes we need
Quiere
help.
pero decir que Michael tiene también sus errores.
If this was a regular man doing this, they would have been upset about it a long time ago. They wouldn't be yaying for him. This is wrong. He's hurting innocent children. How can you yay for somebody who's done something like that? Help the young kids.
Prácticamente.
I have disassociated myself from my family a long time ago simply because.
Yo me soy separado de mi familia hace mucho tiempo. ¿Por qué?
They agree with child abuse, and I totally disagree with child abuse.
¿Por qué conocido hacia Michael?
Absolutely not. See, people have to understand. I know there's a lot of entertainers in the world, but I think there's only one great entertainer. And I think he's the absolute best entertainer in the entire world, and I don't think there's anybody better, and there will never be anybody better than Michael Jackson. He's wonderful. I would speak to him. I would speak to him directly and say, Michael, please get help. Even though if it
hablaré
come
a mi
out that
hermano
way.
y le diré, Michael, por favor, pida ayuda. Pero ¿a quién tiene que pedir ayuda, Michael?
A psychiatrist.
A un
All the
doctor.
children, do you know that there? I can't
psiquiatra.
legally say at the moment. Do you know how many children are going to psychiatrists at this very moment because of Michael?
Dice,
There are so
¿tú
many
sabes cuántos
children.
niños?
No, it's not that he's a child and he hasn't
No,
matured.
no es
That's,
un
I think
niño.
that's an excuse that everyone
Es
uses.
una excusa.
Because you have to remember, all my brothers were young.
Dice que todos mis hermanos han sido jóvenes y entonces esta es una excusa. Pero Michael ya es un hombre, ¿tú crees? Que ya ha crecido, no tiene todavía este sueño de una niñez que no ha
he's
tenido.
a genius. He's highly intelligent.
Bueno, persona porque tendría que ser un monstruo, una persona que ve a alguien que sufre como esto y tener otra
I didn't
cara.
say that.
No, digo, es mi opinión esta.
Oh,
No es la tuya, por caridad de Dios. Pero dice que al mismo tiempo que Michael tiene que parar este tipo de relación con los niños menores porque le daña mucho, les daña a ellos mucho y a lo mejor él tiene también un daño muy grande de esta relación y es mejor que se vaya a ver a un psiquiatra. ¿Es justo lo que he resumido yo?
Yes, what you said is in a sense it's true. However, at the same time, I must tell you that Bianca, which is the maid, and
habla de una, ¿cómo se dice? Una criada que estaba en casa.
The housekeeper, the nanny, just for Michael's room only.
Ella se ocupaba solamente de la
her
habitación
job was to stay in Michael's room
de
only.
Michael. Entonces, ¿qué
Yes,
decía
and
esta señora?
Bianca she's seen so much. She's seen him in showers with little boys together, with little boys taking showers. She's seen them do terrible things together. She's
Dice que ha visto Michael a tomar duchas y tomar baños con estos niños pequeños.
Which is, I don't know if that's okay or not, but she's also seen him with her son, and that's when she decided to quit. When she saw Michael with her son, she was so hurt, and she was with us for years. And she says, no, I've seen him with other boys. I am not going to allow him to do this to my little boy, and that's when she left and she quit.
Bueno,
you're wrong there.
Dice que me equivoco.
No, I'm not hurting my brother.
Dice
He's
que no
hurting,
estoy haciendo
he's hurting
daño a mi
innocent
hermano.
children. He's hurting innocent children.
Dice-
I have tried to contact Michael so many times to speak to him about this matter, and he never returns
He
the call.
contactado
This will come out in the public, and I knew this would come out in the public because when people are being abused, eventually they're going to tell. And there's no reason for you to act that way.
But that's as absurd as everything else you say.
Everything else you're saying, too, is ridiculous. I think what you're saying is totally ridiculous. I am not stabbing him in the back.
Well, Ms. Jackson carried on with that nonsense for about another 25 minutes, all the time being prompted by someone in the studio, but off camera, presumably her husband manager Jack Gordon, until our bizarre interview ended this way.
People like you will let this go on, and it's very, very
who's
wrong.
talking to you in the
so
background?
I refuse to sit here and listen to you talk this way. I think it's wrong of you.
Who's
Very
talking
wrong.
to you in the background?
So I have nothing else to say to you whatsoever. I think what you're doing is wrong. I'm sorry. Goodbye. And yes, I'm talking to you so you can hear what I'm saying. I can't hear you, but I definitely want you to hear what I'm saying. Because you do have a serious problem, sir. Whatever it is, I don't know. But you do need to go see a psychiatrist. Goodbye. Though I told my mother, I said, Mother, you don't know why he wrote this check to him. Maybe they're having problems. I said, you have no idea. But she proceeded to call him a terrible name.
What was the terrible name?
She called him, excuse my expression, she called him an effing faggot. That's what she called him. And I said, Mother, don't say that. And she said, that's exactly what he is. He's always been that. And it makes you wonder, it made me think. But I didn't like when she said that, simply because I didn't believe that. However, if Michael is gay, there's nothing wrong with it. I see absolutely nothing wrong with it if he is gay. That's his lifestyle. That's what he chooses. But, however, there is something wrong with bothering little kids and molesting little kids, or spending so much time with them, yes.
And you believe your brother has been molesting little boys?
I believe something has been going on.
No. I'm asking you very specifically now. You have to be very careful. Do you believe, LaToya, as you sit there, that your brother has been molesting little boys?
Geraldo, I have never seen him do it. I have never seen them in the act. But deep down in my heart, I have to tell you, yes.
What was your reaction when you heard them say that after your press conference?
I'm very used to that. They said my book was a lie. My book was, and eventually the world began to believe that, gosh, this girl wasn't lying. She was telling the truth. My brother Randy was put away for 6 months, 3 or 6 months, I can't recall exactly how long, for abusing his wife and his daughter.
And you think that Randy was abusive because he had grown up in a so-called dysfunctional?
I think that it's a pattern. In most cases, it is a pattern that does happen. But I can't exactly say that's why he did it or that's why he was doing that.
Okay, I want you to react specifically to your own mother, your own father, saying they would say it to your face that you're a liar, LaToya.
I would love for them to do that. More than anything else, I've asked them to do that. I would love to speak to them because they know better. They know the truth.
When was the last time you spoke?
My mother, when I wrote my book, I must say, before I wrote anything about abuse, I asked my mother why my father did this to me, because I went to her for help. I wanted to know the answers, because I had so many questions. I was so confused, Geraldo. I couldn't sleep at night. I couldn't think. I couldn't do anything properly. And I went to her and said, Mother, please, you must tell me, why did Joseph do this to me? And why did you watch him do this to me? And the answers that she gave me was, LaToya, this is something that you keep in the family and you don't tell anyone else. It stays in the family. It goes nowhere else. I said, but Mother, just tell me why he did this to me. I need to know. She would not tell me. I called again. The next time I called, she says, LaToya, your father did this because he was sick. He didn't realize he was doing these things to you guys when you did it.
Your mother said that?
That's exactly what she told me. Then I spoke to her again, and then she tells me my father doesn't recall any of this, and she says, and neither do you, so forget it. And if you mention it, I'll say you're a liar, and the whole world will believe that you're a liar. And that's exactly what she's doing today. I wish they would come out and speak the truth. They don't come out and speak the truth. I must tell you that Michael supports, my brothers don't work at this particular time. They haven't worked in a long time, Geraldo.
Jermaine,
Michael, of
Randy,
course,
Marlon?
Michael, of course, works. And Janet, of course, works. However, Michael supports my mother, and a lot of them live in the house. So that means he's supporting whoever lives in the house.
But your basic statement is that the reason they stay silent is that they fear harming the golden goose, Michael Jackson?
I would think so. Definitely.
He buys silence.
Definitely, yes.
You're calling your own family collaborators then to child molestation?
Well, I know Michael definitely buys silence. That I do know as for a fact.
Not just with the family, but with others
For anything he wants, definitely. He pays lots of money.
Would you say that your own siblings then are collaborators to a child molester?
Yes, absolutely.
Your reaction to his live press conference from Neverland? Did you see it live?
When I saw that, yes, I did. When I saw that, that was very touching to me. I was very torn. I was hurt. And when I saw that, the first thing I thought of were my parents. I didn't want to blame Michael for what he did. I didn't want to say, I know that when he says that he's innocent, I know that he isn't.
He is not.
No, he is not. He's not innocent at all. However, I blame my parents more than anything else, because of the way we were raised. I don't blame Michael, even though we're responsible for our actions. I don't really blame him all the way for this, Geraldo. You have to understand, Michael is a very confused, mixed-up person. You guys see him entirely different. You see this, I guess I should say, icon or whatever on television who's doing all these wonderful things, but you don't see the person that's very sad and that's very confused, that's very mixed up, that cries and comes to you, he doesn't know what to do. And what does he turn to? doesn't have friends. I have tried to help him, but you have to, you can help a person as much as you want, but they have to be willing to want to help themselves.
I believe that the charges against Michael, the charges of child molestation, are essentially true. Do you think anything happened to him as a youngster at your parents' hands that made him inclined to be abusive?
If you're saying that my parents abused him sexually, I'm not saying that. No, I have never seen my parents touch Michael in that manner whatsoever.
Do you know where it comes from then?
I'm not saying where it came from. I'm not saying that it actually happened.
Are you convinced of your brother's sexuality?
Alonzo, you just get into so much, you're just trying to get me into so much trouble, aren't you?
It just occurred to me. I thought I'd ask.
Is your brother a pedophile?
In my eyes, definitely yes.
You go on national television and say this about him. How do you know this?
I do. And he knows that I do.
During our interview, LaToya said she has never actually witnessed Michael interacting with young boys in a sexual manner. But she says she did see behavior that she calls inappropriate.
At the same time, I'm trying to save these little kids out there.
You're saying you can't...
Kids are being scarred for the rest of their lives, and you guys don't even realize it. A lot of people don't even care. They can give a damn, but I give a damn because I was an abuse victim, and I know what it's like.
You know there are going to be people watching this who hear you say this, but then...
And they're not going to like it, but then that's their problem.
Not only are they not going to like it, but they're going to say, oh, you're not giving specifics. The woman doesn't know what she's talking about, and she's not credible. They'll say that.
I really don't care whether they believe it or not. I know what I hear. I know what goes on between the family. I know what's happening.
Do you ever think there'll come a day where you can patch things up with your brother Michael?
First of all, he has to patch things up with himself. Because if he's not truthful with himself, then he can't be truthful with anyone else. And he's not being truthful with himself. And he needs to be.
Based upon what you've heard and experienced.
He's actually had no interest whatsoever.
Is your brother gay?
You know, you are so just, you are so blunt. And you're just
I'm
right
just
to the
good,
point.
LaToya. I'm just good.
Right to the point.
You're just good, is that what it is? You know, LaToya, for many years.
You are the only one. You know, lots of people interview me, and you're the only one. You just get right to the point.
I cut right to the chase.
That's right.
Would like nothing more than to have him sue me so we could go to court together, he and I, and test out everything that we
Io vorrei proprio che lui mi facesse causa, perché così finalmente potremo andare in tribunale, potremo essere a quel punto essere messi a confronto e io potrei testimoniare e dire tutto ciò che so.
And the reason for it is that no more children will be harmed by
Perché il motivo
Poi finisce per riguardare anche degli estranei, anche degli estranei che sono prima di tutto dei bimbi.
Sono perfettamente d'accordo con lei. Anch'io sono una vittima di cui si è abusato. So che cosa provano, so che cosa hanno sofferto, so come sono le loro cicatrici per il resto della vita. Non le dimenticherò mai. Ma è difficile per una sorella e andare lì e invece essere inseguita e essere costretta ad andare in tribunale e dire cose cattive di tuo fratello, soprattutto quando le hai offerto così tanto aiuto. E diciamo noi negli Stati Uniti che puoi portare il cavallo all'acqua, ma non lo puoi far bere. Non puoi aiutare.
Keeper to the Jacksons. So maybe we can get something going with LaToya.
No, she's finicky. I'm told you, if LaToya do your show, you can never forget about having a chance to do something with Mike.
What about if Catherine did it?
That's different. Michael loves his mother.
What about the sleeping with young boys? How does he explain it to you? How do you explain it to yourself?
You know
what? Is it?
Michael addressed that to the public on television, and I think that no one can answer that question but Michael, and he addressed it to the public. And I think that's the way it should be.
Did it satisfy you?
Well, that's totally up to him. I understand, and I know him.
I mean, but was his reasoning
yes
acceptable to you?
Yes, it was. Yes, it was.
And
I think it was fair for him to address it to the public, to let them know how he felt and what he thought.
Do you think he gets bum-rapped?
Yes, he does.
Right.
Yes.
And he adds to his own by being secluded. You know,
but, you know, yes, but when he goes out and he speaks out, he gets hurt even more. So it's kind of difficult, isn't it? It's sort of like a catch-22 in a sense, isn't it?
he makes bad choices, right? He made bad choices to be taped.
You mean with that guy, with the brazier guy or whatever?
Well, obviously, if he was hurt, it's a bad choice.
Oh, yes, in that sense, but he didn't know.
In a news conference in Tel Aviv, you said you won't be silent collaborator of his crimes against small, innocent children. What did you mean?
Management.
You were instructed to say that? No, explain
Actually,
that to me.
during that particular time, and Israel, I believe it was, yes, we were going there, and I had no idea why we were going to Israel. He told me, well, I need to go on vacation, so he went to Israel. And we got to the hotel, Larry, and at the hotel, all these cameras were everywhere. And I, of course, was in the limo, and no makeup on, nothing, and I said, geez, I didn't know that they were having an award show here at the hotel. I thought it was like an Academy Award or something, because the photographers were everywhere. He never told me anything. And we got there, and they were screaming my name, and he gave me the paper and said, here. And I put the glasses on. He says, read this to the public.
And you said, I cannot and will not be silent collaborator of his crimes against small, innocent children. I think Michael needs help. This has been going on since 1981. It's not just on children. She also said, forget about the superstar, forget about the icon. If he was any other man who was sleeping with little boys, you wouldn't like him.
I don't know if it goes that far, but once again,
you were reading that.
Yes, off of a card from what I had never seen it before in my life. It's like, and he says, you better read it. Management, meaning that control and that power, which is something that I have taken all this time out to stray away from. I don't need that.
¿Tú crees que no hay el menor chance de que tu hermano sea declarado y encontrado culpable? El menor chance.
I certainly hope not.
Espero que no, ciertamente, en mi corazón.
If Toya Jackson comes on the show and I don't mention the troubles that Michael's been in, people are going to think that you've come on and said, I don't want to talk about this and I don't want to talk about that, and to your credit, you haven't. So, what do you make of it all, Latoya?
What do I make of what?
Make of the whole accusations that have been aimed at your brother, because it must affect the whole family. It's got to.
Well, of course it does, because it's your brother, and it's really sad, because you will know and you will see that he will prevail. He will prevail at the end. Very much so. He's in good spirits. He's doing very well, and everyone's with him.
But it must be still a worrying time, isn't it?
It is, but you continue doing what you have to do. He's doing his music. He's doing everything that he needs to do, and that's what's important. You can't sit and wait for results of anything, because you know the truth.
So have you have doubted him in the past, I think it's true to say, isn't it?
With management. I know you don't understand that, do you?
No. I think one thing I should say is that although you're well known in the UK, we don't maybe know everything about your background that is known in America. So what do you mean by that, management?
Anything that's negative in your life, you get rid of it. I look at it as being cancerous. And if there's a cancer, you cannot take a little bit of cancer out and leave the rest in. So what I did was I took 7 years off, and I didn't do anything, any shows or anything, and I decided to get my life together, to get myself together. And what I did by that was I cleansed house, and by cleansing house, I got rid of all the negative people in my life, all the negativity. And I started with leaving the person that I was married to, and I got a divorce.
Now, this is your ex-husband, who was also your manager, is that correct?
Yes, he was. Who controlled everything. I had no right. Let me speak to them. I wasn't allowed to call them. I wasn't allowed to use a phone. I wasn't allowed to do a lot of things. And this is the control.
When the first accusations, the Geordie Chandler accusations, came out about your brother, you spoke out not on Michael's behalf. You actually suggested in some interviews that you thought maybe he was guilty.
Yes, I went for the longest time not wanting to say anything, not wanting to speak in management, as I put it, kept pushing and pushing and pushing. No, I won't say anything, I won't say anything. You better make a comment, you better make a statement. There are people out there suffering, you have to say something. You have to, no, nothing.
It's kind of incredible for us as a public to see you on television saying, yeah, I think Michael might be guilty. I've always, you know, my mother has always been suspicious and something should have been done about it, which you did say.
I'm listening.
Yeah, and to say that, and now to see you saying, well, No, I don't. It's kind of, we think this is like two people.
Exactly, but it isn't. It isn't. Under the influence of someone else, when you have, I didn't want to go into detail. Well, geez, I don't know if I can't go into detail with it. I want to, but I can't. I don't know if I have the right to do this because I'm contractually signed to something in America where I can't really speak of this subject. However, UK may be okay, and I think it.
Yes, it is okay. Well, I think we're trying to understand.
No, I'm just going to say it. Then I think UK is okay to do it. It's because it's the state. I was under this control of this individual that if I didn't do or say what he said, he threatened me many times to not only kill me, but he would kill my brother and he would kill my sister. As strange as this may sound, I believe this man because I had seen things before and I've seen little things that could happen. And I didn't have a choice. And this is what my family know. My family knows everything about me and they know, well, you know your siblings. It's like, that's not her. She wouldn't do that. She wouldn't say that. Someone's controlling her. However, no one really stepped forward to try and stop him all the way, although they did, but he would cut them off each time, keeping them away from me. And it came to that point where I knew that he was going to kill me. So I phoned one of my brothers and said, when he went to the office and said, you gotta come get me. You gotta come get me. I'm tired of this control. I'm tired of this. And that's basically what happened. He came and he got me, he rescued me. And I stayed there all day in my pajamas just in case he happened to come home to look as if I wasn't going anywhere. And there I did. He knocked on the door and he said, let's go. And we just ran out and we caught the plane. And I left everything there, just walked out. I was afraid if he would catch me in the act, I knew he would kill me.
Wow.
And he promised me he would kill me. He promised me if I didn't say certain things, he would kill my brother and my sister. So what do you do in a case like that? Do you say, I don't care, go kill them? I'm not saying it. Do you say that or you say, well, let me just do this now and I'll explain it to them later? What do you do?
Are you going to court every day when this case happens? Are you going to be all there as a family?
Am I going to be going every day? Yes, I will be there. I don't know if I'll be there every day because, you know, there's other things that you have to do. But yes, we're all there to support. We're all there to support him.
Just pick the most exciting days.
Well, no, we have been going with him when he's appearing, and then of course we're going to be there when he.
Well, we have a picture of you actually. I'll go into court with Michael. There you are. That is you, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. You should have gone to SpecSafe. I have to ask you this question, and we're going to close now. Did you ever have doubts? Serious. Did you ever, about Michael, did you ever think this could be true?
You know what? I know that you probably want to get more into it, but you know that this is a case that's pending on him.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
And there's been so many restrictions with this, and I think I've kind of like gone over the top tonight with the discussion on it.
But you'd kind of agree, wouldn't you, that he's probably been unwise?
You know what it is, Frank? He has such a great love, we all do, for children. He has such a great love for children. And I know that when people say things, it's like he says to himself, no, I like all children, I like everything, and I will always provide for them and let them come and see the amusement parks, and let them go and ride and let them do all these things. I'm not going to give that up. It's not so much that something's going on, it's just that there's this love for children. And it's very difficult, and I understand, for a lot of people to understand. And yes, it's come to the point where it's like, now they're getting you in trouble.
Exactly. He has to stop.
Yeah,
because if he is innocent, I don't know. Either way, I know. Honestly, I found it hard to find an opinion because the people who are accusing all seem to be slightly dodgy people anyway.
Well, you will see. He will definitely be vindicated.
Well, I hope he's innocent because I hate to see a celebrity who was a big star brought down by something like that. Obviously, if he's guilty, let him burn. But I'm hoping he isn't. Yeah. Okay.
Emotion and outrage in your voice.
Yes, I do. And I better have it in my voice. I better do it with this. And I better do it with conviction. I've been beaten too many times not to do it with this.
But did you believe what
Would I do this on my own? Absolutely not. I love my brother. Michael is one of the sweetest persons on this earth. You have no idea. He is so misunderstood.
Have you talked to Michael about that press conference?
No. We have never discussed that press conference.
Michael!
Gordon gave me this piece of paper and he says, read this. And he goes, you better say this, you say this.
Jack Gordon forced you to say that your brother was a pedophile. Did you think he was?
No, I did not. The courts have proven that too as well.
Why did Jack Gordon want you to say that your brother was a pedophile?
He had this hatred towards my brother that I can never explain to you why it was.
Just to make things very clear, you recanted your accusation. Are you sure today that your brother never had any undue relationship with a child?
Barbara, Michael is not. He is not.
He is not a pedophile.
No, he's not.
There is a book out that suggests that Michael was gay. Do you think he was?
No, absolutely not.
You think he liked women?
Yes. Yes. Yes.
He made you do that press conference about Michael, where you basically, you know, went along with all the allegations against your own brother.
Oh, yes.
At a time when Michael most needed probably the support of his family.
Absolutely.
I mean, that was a despicable thing for him to do.
It was just the lowest of all. It was the lowest. And that's one of the things that...
Do you absolve yourself completely? Because there'll be people watching and reading the book, and you know, you've had this criticism before, who say you can blame somebody to a point.
Right.
But when you denounce your own brother in public...
Right.
Part of you has to take responsibility yourself for that.
You have to. Part of you have to take responsibility, and I do take responsibility for it, I must tell you. But at the same time, I have to tell you that if I didn't do what he asked me to do, he blatantly told me, not just me, but others, that my other loved ones, that he would kill Michael. And I believed him because I believed the actions. So when he says, you get up there, you read this, and you say this, prior to this allegation about Michael, there I was on television saying, oh, my brother's wonderful. He would never, ever, ever do a thing like this. This is despicable, and the whole bit. And then Gordon gets this idea, okay, is that what you're saying? No, you're going to change that story. And it's like, no. And then this is...
How did Michael react when you did that?
I don't know how he reacted at the time. I know how he reacted later when I talked to him about it. He and I had a conversation, and I told him, I said, I need to talk to you, Michael. I want to tell you what exactly happened, what went on. He says, LaToya, you don't have to. I said, no, I want to. He says, LaToya, I know you. You're my sister. I know you. I love you. I know you would never, ever, ever, ever in your heart do a thing like that. Pierce, when my brother said that, that made me feel so good.
They found him on two separate occasions with accusations of molestation. You held a news conference, I think it was in Tel Aviv, back in 1993, and you said some pretty important things. You said, quote, I can no longer be a silent collaborator of his crimes against small, innocent children.
Absolutely.
You now say that you were forced to say that by your former husband, Jack Gordon. How could he force you to say something so damning about your brother?
Matt, when you're in a relationship where you're being abused and you're very controlling, he controlled everything I did, everything that went on in my life. He was working with a group of people that were working with my brother at the time, which, in fact, I didn't know. I wasn't privy to that. I wasn't privy to watch television. I knew nothing was going on. When I went on television and said my brother was wonderful, he would never do anything like that, he hated that. The next day, you get on, went to Tel Aviv. He said I was going on a vacation, and I thought that there was an award show. We drove up all these cameras, and people were there, and they were there for me. I didn't know.
So you've had a complete change of heart in terms of your brother's situation with molestation?
Never had a change of heart. I always knew that he never did that, and that's one thing that Michael and I discussed and talked about, because I had to speak to him about that. And he says, LaToya, you don't have to mention that. I know you. I know your heart. I know you would never say anything. I know he was making you do this. Michael knew more than I thought. He would call me and tell me to get away from him, that Gordon's going to murder you. I promise you. I said, but Michael, he's not. What I want to say, he would tell me if I didn't do what he wanted me to do or say, he was going to kill Michael.
You have also in the past made comments about your father, Joe, accusing him of molesting you and other forms of child abuse. And now you say, quote, no other man, alive or dead, has done anything like what Joseph did for his family, and I thank him for that. So is this a contradiction?
No, it is not. I thank my father. My father did a wonderful job of raising all of us. And I have to tell you that when you're young, you see things differently than when you get older. When you get older and you have children and you're used to your nieces and nephews, you understand why your father disciplined you the way you did. You understand. Back then, parents beat their children back then. They don't do that today. If you do it today,
you're going to jail.
But you stand by the comments you made about molestation and child abuse.
My father is a very wonderful man, Matt. I have to tell you something. And my father's getting older. I love him with all my heart. Michael loved my father at the end of the day. People are showing footage of Michael speaking about my father the way he thought many years ago. But at the end of Michael's life, he called my father several times, wanted him there. He even told his children, call Grandpa. He will help me get out of this situation.
I'm out of time, but I just want to make sure you're standing by your original statements about your dad.
My father's a wonderful person, and he always will be. He has a great heart. And yes, I do love him, and I do care for him a great deal.
Toya Jackson.
I remember the press conference in the early 90s when you alleged that Michael was a child molester.
Yes,
and I wondered how you were able to make amends with him after that. I think if I were Michael, I'm not sure if I could ever forgive that.
And then there was a whole story around that, too. That was another Jack Gordon production.
Yeah, when you read the book, you will understand it clearly. My mother, she knew exactly what was going on. My brother, Michael, when I finally got a chance to talk to him about it, and he says, you don't even have to tell me. He says, I know you. You're my sister. I love you. I know your heart. I knew it was him. Because Michael kept telling me, you got to get away from him. And he goes, he's going to kill you if you don't. I'm thinking, well, he's going to kill you and, you know, I couldn't tell him that because
you were afraid he was going to kill Michael.
Well, he would tell me that. He would say, and I knew what he had done. I knew his past. I knew his records. I knew who he associated with, who he knew. Oh. He knew all the guys on Mulberry Street and the whole bit. And so I was trying to protect him. But no, Michael was very fine with that. He goes, I know you. I know your heart. I know it's not you. And I said, I would never do it. I love you. And he goes, no, I love you more. And we just hugged and we cried together about this.
He is the choreographer who recently came out and made allegations claiming that Michael molested him when he was younger.
Yes.
What did you think, or what do you think of those allegations?
My mother and I discussed it, and it's just sad. It really is. It's very, very sad, but I don't want to go into detail with it, but Wade was very close with members in the family, and he very close with several members in the family, and I'm surprised. I'm very surprised. Very surprised. Everybody
Didn't he date some of your nieces?
Yeah, he did, 2 of them.
And I respect
Both his sister LaToya and brother Jermaine refused to comment on these allegations.
Do you have any comment that you'd like to?
I prefer not to go into any of that.
I understand.
Let's keep Michael at peace and where he is.
I understand, and I respect that.
He's given the world so much joy.
I understand.
And let's not take that away from him.
I respect that, and we'll leave it there.
You're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Die Sängerin weicht aus.
Wann haben Sie Ihre Meinung geändert und an Michaels Unschuld geglaubt?
Michael hat seine ganz eigene Persönlichkeit. Die Menschen sehen Dinge oft falsch und anders. Er ist ein liebender Mensch. Jemand, der gerne gibt und warmherzig ist. Ich glaube nicht, dass er jemals versucht hat, irgendwen zu misshandeln oder zu verletzen. Er war immer offenherzig und großzügig. Und dabei würde ich es gerne belassen.
Die Sängerin weicht aus.
Mother always said I was her different child.
I keep thinking about Michael. When he used to say, whenever you get ready to get married, we're going to tell your husband, don't bring her back.
What? I don't remember that at all.
Yeah.
Don't
you don't remember that?
No. Because of my ways?
Don't bring her back.
Because I'm picky.